As a fan of the action RPG series Star Ocean, I was somewhat displeased with not being able to play the first game in the series for the longest time, since it was originally a Super Famicom game never released outside of Japan officially. Luckily, Tosei brought us this long-awaited PSP remake, and I can finally now say that, side games excluded, I've beaten every Star Ocean game. But the question is, does this 16-bit remake hold up on the PSP? Well, that's the point of this review, so just keep watching. Trust me on this. Graphically, this game is virtually identical to Star Ocean 2 because it uses the same engine. The characters are hand-drawn sprites, the towns and dungeons are comprised of pre-rendered backgrounds, and the world map is completely and fully 3D. I really love this look, as it harkens me back to the good old PS1 days, since a lot of RPGs on that console look just like this, which to me is a very good thing. I feel that this kind of look is somewhat lost nowadays, and it's really nice to see another game make use of it. I also have to mention the wonderful anime cutscenes in this game, drawn by Production IG. They're few and far between in the game, but when they appear, they are just eye candy. Music in this game is your standard Motoi Sakuraba fare. While definitely not one of his more standout soundtracks, it still retains his undeniably charming style we've all come to know and love. However, the voice work in this game is a bit odd, to say the least. While some characters are voiced very well, like Roddick, who is voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, and Ilya by Julie Madalena, some characters like Millie and Ronix have some odd execution. Granted, since this is a PSP game, voice work isn't too important, especially if you're on the go, but it's still odd at times and deserves mention. Now, as mentioned before, Star Ocean was originally a Super Famicom game, so it's to be expected that the story isn't anything spectacular, and really, it isn't. It's a very nice and simple story, which works just fine, I think. Now, admittedly, it does get somewhat convoluted towards the end. It's overall a smooth and simple story with clear goals for the characters. However, I have to say that the characters in this are very charming. I simply loved Roddick and Ilya especially, as they became some of my favorite characters in the entire series. Honestly, it's hard not to get a smile on your face when these characters go back and forth, as they have great chemistry. As you progress in the game, however, you can actually decide which party members you do and do not want in your party. There are 13 characters in the game, and you can only have 8 of them by the end of it. Some characters also have character-specific quests you can do, which will teach you more about them and open up their backstory. Another way of learning more about the characters is by doing private actions, which are a staple of the series. Similar to the skits of the Tales of series, private actions are basically extra scenes where the characters interact with each other with playful banter, exploration of backstory, and expansion of lore. However, you do have some choices here and there you can make that actually alter character-specific endings that you get because of the private actions. Depending on how you treat your party members, they may even fall in love with Roddick or each other, which is a pretty nice bonus, I feel. This is also affected by who and how much you decide to bring characters into battle. For example, I had Ilya with me in almost every single battle in the game. She and Roddick became very close as a result. Speaking of battles, this game's battle system is also virtually identical to Star Ocean 2. So it carries all of the same pros, but also all of the same cons, which it's more pro than con, but I'll go over them anyways. Basically, the X button is to attack, the L and R buttons are for your special skills that take up MP. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but still very fun. However, I would have liked to have more than just 2 skills to use in battle. Maybe something like an E7 where holding down the L button turns all of the face buttons into different skills. That would have been pretty nice, since by the end of the game you have tons of skills. But, oh well, it's really not a big deal. However, a legitimate complaint I have is that the spells in this game literally stop the combat. It's pretty jarring. It is definitely one of the biggest negatives I have towards this game. For this reason alone, I have to recommend anyone who plays this game to only have one spellcaster in your group, so it doesn't constantly pause the combat. Other than this, however, I have no complaints about the combat itself. Coupled with the fun and simple combat comes a very in-depth skill system. Every time you level up, you not only learn the special skills for the L and R buttons, but you also get skill points. You can then distribute these skill points to either raise your stats, learn passive battle skills, or become more proficient at item creation. The skill system, again, is virtually the same as it was in Star Ocean 2, which is certainly not a bad thing as you may have guessed. With good controls, fun and simple combat, and a very in-depth skill system, this game is tons of fun to play. Overall, Star Ocean: The First Departure is a fantastic little game. It bears a lot of resemblance to Star Ocean 2, which some people complain about, but honestly, Star Ocean 2 is a fantastic game, so more of the same is a-okay in my book. Looks great, has catchy music, charming characters, and is a lot of fun to play. While not as good as the repeatedly mentioned Star Ocean 2, it's still definitely worth playing, especially for fans of the series. However, if you're not a fan of the series, this is a great entry point. The game takes around 20 hours to finish. However, it's a good deal longer if you want to do the side quests, and it has tons of replayability with the multiple endings and different characters you can recruit throughout different playthroughs. If you're itching for a fun action RPG on the PSP, look no further than Star Ocean. You can pick up a copy for $10, so go for it. This has been Shintai, everyone. Take it easy.